Alexander from KPRC2, joined by KPRC2 Texans insider Aaron Wilson. Our first game day at home of the year. Aaron, based on what you saw between the Panthers and the Texans in joint practices, what can we expect early in this game of the ones you're in?
We're going to expect a cameo appearance by the ones, of course, because it's preseason football. But I think we're going to see some cool matchups, and we're going to see C.J. Stroud going after this Panthers defense. Sons, J.C. Horn, but they've got some other guys, including Mike Jackson, who picked him off in the end zone. We saw a good rhythm with Nico Collins. A perfect start for the Texans would be some of those short passes like we saw the other day to Xavier Hutchinson, to Jalen Noel, Christian Kirk, and just finish it off with a touchdown pass to Nico Collins.
Yeah, you bring up the receivers, and we're kind of getting to a point in preseason where you have to figure out who your 6 are, maybe who your 7 are. We know that 4 guys are safe for sure: Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, the 2 rookies, Higgins and Noel. Of the last 3 names that could make the team, Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, Braxton Berrios, maybe Justin Watson as one of those names. Who do you think makes it as of now?
Braxton Berrios, a lock, your guy. I think that he will do very well as a returner, and if he's ever needed a receiver, we saw what he could do the other day. An excellent touchdown and misdirection play. What a finish by Braxton. So Xavier Hutchinson's feeling like a lock to me too. The guys I feel like are duking it out: John Mechie III, former second-round pick, and then Justin Watson as the cashier. 2-year contract, a little bit of guaranteed money in it. They got to make a choice in order to keep an extra receiver. And that's a possibility. They've done that before. Remember Steven Sims? They had 7 guys. Do they do it again?
What do you think the chances are they go 7 over 6?
I think it's a good chance. I think because of special teams, the influence of Frank Ross, and we talk about that a lot with the 53, former Patriots scout, very influential and highly regarded special team coordinator, very close to Nick Caserio. Some guys are surprises to make the team. So like, don't rule out British Brooks, for example. British could make the team as a running back. Basically, you saw that tackle he had against the Vikings. We kind of want that. You want somebody who's going to run down every time. Why was Chris Boyd on the team last year? So he was good at punching footballs. He wasn't great at covering, but he makes it super special. But I feel like the receiver, we're talking about stuff that's not going to want to matter a lot, honestly. It matters to the fans who makes want to know everything. It's like John Mechie III, Justin Watson. They're not going to catch a lot of balls this year unless things go wrong. We know the starters. We know J.D. Higgins. We know Nico Collins. We know about Christian Kirk. Maybe Dalton Schultz. All those guys get the lion's share of the charges. This is basically like almost the minutiae of camp. For these guys, it's their dream. But as far as the importance of the big picture, you know, other than Berrios, I think Berrios.
Well, I bring it up because you love minutiae. So we're going to get into the minutiae here. Does having a 7th receiver, an extra receiver, hurt them in any sort of way when it comes to roster construction?
It can, because they're going to be short-handed with safety. So Jalen Reed, who they like that on the team, has a sprained knee, and it's touch and go whether he'll be ready. I'm telling you right now, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is not looking good for the opener. He'll play football this year, but yeah, it's going to be touch and go for him to be ready. So you're going to base possibly carrying guys onto the 53 that are hurt, and that takes away numbers. You know, how do you feel with the other safeties? You know, you've got Rush. He might actually make the team. He was a long shot. Now he's kind of in the mix. MJ Stewart might start the game against the Rams. So a lot's changing of who's going to play next to Taylor Boulevard.
So if you go 7 receivers, safety could be a position that gets impacted. It's interesting to kind of think about how the special teams mix comes in. Next position I want to talk about is running back, because there is a bit of a mystery as to what's going on with Joe Mixon. So we're going to break this up into kind of 2 parts. One, I love British murder mystery, so what's going on at Mixon House is my first question.
That's Mixon House, my friend, with your Peaky Blinders suit here. So, seriously, Joe Mixon, let's give you the backstory. I was told he got hurt doing something he shouldn't have been doing, working out away from the team, some kind of exercise, sport activity. And so what happens with that is he's on the non-football injury list. Remember when he's a non-football injury list? They're not real happy about what you did to get on the non-football injury list. There's a little bit of a back, some seams there. Then, found out he was a walking boot. That was really confirmed, and that's never been disputed. Then I just got photographs from his football camp he didn't want us to go to, wearing a brace, a lace-up brace on that foot. Have the photographic evidence. That's Joe posing for pictures. Over the summer, I watched videos of him improving his mobility, jumping around, working out with Ryan T out in California from the USC safety. So he comes into camp, and I'm it's an issue for him to be ready for the first game. So he makes the end of the season on NFI. That's my long-winded answer. Do I think Joe Mixon plays this year? Yeah, unless there's some kind of setback he's having his aftercare with the injury because of the treatments he's received. The guy you saw in Tampa, he's special, especially with his electromagnetic therapy to break up scar tissue, which is obviously a good thing to do if there is scar tissue, but it's not good that there is scar tissue. So, bottom lining it, Joe Mixon, doesn't look good for the Rams game, and we don't know exactly when he's going to play. But hopefully he plays this year. They need him. That's why we're looking at Joe, man. Dario Morales and Damian Pierce. These guys need to be ready to play. And Damian looks great, but they have yet. They're so worried about him having to step back with the squad, and he's not playing today.
So Damian Pierce and Woody Marks and Nick Chubb are probably your guys that are going to step up. Dario Morales was good in that third down role last year. And as much as, I think we all like Dario on a personal level, and he's a good player to have on the roster in various capacities, he's not necessarily the guy you want as running back one, So, if Joe Mixon is not available for week 1 against the Rams, how does the running back bench shake out?
Back here by committee, Nick Chubb and Damian Pierce as the bell cows. Dario is a third down back. I just haven't seen Woody Marks, and I think he's got some talent within him. I wonder if kind of the confidence and comfortability just not there yet. So we haven't seen a lot of that USC, great hands, all that kind of stuff. They're dropping him, but he's just not making a lot of plays. So I feel like you need all three backs, all hands on deck, and the Rams have a good front with Brady Fisk and Jared First. It doesn't feel like it's adding up to a vibrant running game to me, because what we're not seeing him show up as much explosiveness. There was a good run the other day, and sometimes in fairness to Nick, they're just up in his face as soon as he's getting the ball, and he's not young Nick Chubb to do something crazy. Right. Sorry for the moves, guy. Little Barry Sanders and juke everybody. No, that's gone. He's just kind of a plow ahead, good vision, kind of quick feet. But as far as like really twitchy, no, I don't see that. Sometimes I see it from Pierce when he's not running to the guy's butts, sometimes his vision's not good. But he is lightning in a bottle. I mean, sometimes we've seen Damian Pierce go the distance.
Touchdown, yeah.
Struck somebody too. And honestly, of the backs, maybe I'm a little biased, no Damian at all. I just feel like he might be the best option to have more carries than maybe you ride the hot hand.
Does Nick Caley's system benefit Pierce? Because you mentioned he can run into the guy's butts, right? That's something that he's struggled with. That zone blocking scheme just doesn't seem to fit what he wants to do or how he's thinking when he's out on the field. Does what Caley does on the offensive coordinator side to help Pierce?
Yes, because do you remember, just test everybody's memory, do you remember Troy Hairston, guys, out there? Troy Hairston was a good lead blocking. They were running power I, like the Jaguars game when he got the angry run of the year. So they did that, like really old school football. Just pitch it to the guy or hand it off, and he goes downhill. And that's what he is. He's a downhill runner. And it does fit, because what the running game has become now is it's simplified. And Popovich has got these guys playing a little bit better pad level, I believe. They're going to miss Tunsil. We know that. But I feel like the offensive line, they're getting a little grittier, they're a little tougher. And I kind of like what I'm seeing from this configuration of the line, especially Tytus Howard.
So let's talk about that next. We have a good feel for the running backs, a good feel for the receivers. We know CJ's fine, tight ends. The offensive line has been the big question, the number one question for pretty much all the fans since the Tunsil trade in general. CJ Stroud got sacked way more than any quarterback on a winning team could, should, needs to be sacked. That's priority number one for next season. What does this configuration of the offensive line look like? Can they be good? Can they be adequate?
Possibly can be solid.
Possibly, I don't love that.
If you can, I gotta be honest, if you go from bad, and they're bad back here, there's no way to contest that. Bad to average. Just have a foundation of solid, respectable, give CJ some time. As far as the configuration, this is the way it's coming together. Arian Jerry, who's been impressive at times, especially in the Vikings game, those 10 snaps he had, he looked good. Opening holes and knocking guys down. So, left tackle, Nursery, right away, that's his best spot. He likes to play left tackle, not right tackle. Don't play either. So you have Nursery, he's first on the depth chart at right tackle, but they've got to play left tackle. Ken Robinson is close to being back. I think they give him one more chance. If he can't get himself healthy, they'll probably let him play, and then Nursery will back been to a Pro Bowl is like the Tomlinson for these guys. No one else now that Larry McCarthy's a 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle is a commander. So what I see, it might be a little bit left-handed because I feel like that side, the experience factor of Robinson. If Robinson can't get back, and I know a lot of people are saying this, and I kind of feel it too, are they better without Robinson? With Ursery possibly being developed as a stud left tackle? Maybe. Robinson is not a real big practice guy in preseason, but everybody I've talked to, including Vikings people, like their offensive coordinator Wes Phillips, they say that he's a game team. Even though he doesn't look that impressive physically, he's twitchy, he knows what he's doing out there. He got a lot of praise from Kevin O'Connell in the owners meeting on the job he did for the Vikings when they had a season-ending injury at left tackle. I don't want to just write this guy up. He's also making $14.5 million, not big-time left tackle money, but they have an investment in him. So for everybody out there that's like, just throw aside Cam Robinson, it's over. You think that Ursery, we're excited about
the guy,
That's fan stuff, just like the fans that think Ladarius Henderson should be starting. Guys, I don't know where that started. To the point that Kay Adams is asking, D'Amico and Nick Casario about it, but that is not the reality. He's, not in line for a roster spot right now. So there's a lot of change that could. We're going to see what happens in the line, but they obviously have no depth. They can't have an injury. I think Eddie Ingram's look okay. Just goes okay. Do you really want those guys started? No. That's the answer. That's interesting.
How does Drew Scruggs fit in? Because this is a guy you drafted at the back end of the second round. You bounced him from guard. He hasn't been good. You bounced him to center. He hasn't been good. One, how did Nick Casario miss on this draft pick? Kind of in what way? And two, where does he fit in? Can you still use him?
So he traded up for him. So he wanted him back.
Yeah.
And he traded for a guy that had a car accident, made a pretty inspirational comeback from that. And he's a big, strong guy. He kind of looks the part, but he hasn't played the part. And it's not that he's actually a smart guy, but he doesn't really react very fast. His instincts, and he's too quiet. If you're met Juice, his personality, he's not that outgoing, talkative center. He's that quiet, sort of brooding center. And we saw the Green Bay game. That really put on display why he should not be their center anymore. Because he's bad at the line calls, he's bad at the blitz pickups, and recognizing what Eric Wilson, who not related to me, but was firing in there the way I wish I did back in the day when I was a linebacker.
ECU linebacker, walk on, by the way.
Thank you. He was shooting those gaps. He was a blitzer. He was out for this game. For Green Bay, bad for Houston. They lost the game probably because of that. Juice is now the top backup as center, left guard, right guard. So he's a jack of all trades, maybe not a master of any, but he's someone that you can count on. You want him on the team. You're not cutting that guy at all. Blake Fisher, though, boy, not to dunk on Blake too much, but it's been bad.
That's what. So Blake last year, they expect him to come in, potentially step in, you trade Laramie Tunsil. Obviously, you bring in some veterans, and you're hoping the young guys, obviously outside of Ursery, can do something. What is up with Blake Fisher? He can't make. You're right. He hasn't looked good.
False starts, but more than false starts. Like thrown him off the edge by Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter. And so what I found with that experience and watching that, sure, some of those guys are good, but he was beat by the Panthers who don't have those type of level players. They don't have Brian Burns anymore. He's a New York Giant.
Yeah.
So when I watched that, I said, he's just not progressing. He's picking up fast enough. He did get a little better shape. I'll give him that. But he's the same guy, basically, that gave up 3 sacks to Stone Cold Chris Jones in the playoff game. When it mattered, he wasn't ready. So he's just not ready yet. And it's not looking like a great second-round outcome for the Texans. It's a recurring scenario. Second round. But this time, Ursery, give Nick Spear some props. He got this one right. Sometimes third time's a charm.
Real quick, let's go through the defense. I know obviously the ones aren't going to play all that much. Who are we looking out for today?
So the ones will be fast, so we're looking for a quick rhythm with this Stroud. We're thinking Nick Chubb is going to make his debut. We want to see that. He didn't play in the last game. He had a head injury. He got his bell rung by Kamar Lassiter up in the Greenbrier. But he's good now, out of the red non-contact jersey. So what we'll see Chubb. We're going to see no Damian Pierce. We're going to see the offensive line configuration we've been talking about, being no Cam Robinson. And at wide receiver, look for a lot of these guys, the Hutchinsons, the Knowles, the Higgins. And Higgins and Knowles caught both passes and throws that we saw some run after the catch from Knowles. I want to see Higgins on a deep route. I think maybe we will.
On defense, who are we looking for?
On defense, obviously we know the studs. But we're looking though. You're charged total of 105 tackles last year playing next to us. He was outshine. He's steady. Him and EJ Speed are competing. EJ Speed is probably, to me, the highest graded defender by Pro Football Focus, and he's my own little personal rankings against the Vikings. He's flying around, man. The guy from Charleston State, Fort Worth, Texas. I got to give EJ Speed a shout out. That's a guy that he's not making his move. You know, because if you can't count on Christian Harris, you get healthy. He's still missed this game too. It's still the aftercare of the calf injury. So if you don't have Harris, maybe they can use Speed and Toronto. Better situation. Maybe they split that job.
All right, Houston Texans, Carolina Panthers, getting ready for a preseason matchup. You mentioned we've seen the ones a little bit. Defense, we got our guys to look out for.
More on safety. So you segue from the linebacker to the safety position. I'm watching NJ Stewart here start here, and he's got to solidify that he should be in front of Jalen Mills because we're not expecting somebody Gardner Johnson ready for the Rams game. So because of that convalescence, you have
Convalescence. $20 word there. Go on.
It's like I'm writing. Sorry guys. Recovering. So with the heel that he has, it's got to be Stewart, and next to Caleb Bullock, who's a ball hopping presence, 5 picks last year as a rookie. So you have those guys, and then what you'll do, you're looking for him to make the team rush things. He played better than MJ Stewart last year. Russ kind of left people hanging out to dry a little bit. Javon Smith got picked up. There's no help over the top. So he's kind of okay game. I feel like what's got to happen here is Jalen Mills got to show him, and he's the guy maybe that gets more plays. And maybe he's, I'll be honest, based on experience, he's got 8 career receptions. I'd be more comfortable playing Jalen Mills next to Caleb Bullock. Started for the Jets. He started for the Patriots. He started for the Eagles. They call him the Green Goblin because he dyed his hair green. I put Green Goblin out there if I don't like what I'm seeing from Stewart and East pretty soon.
All right. Panthers, Texans, preseason. We're going to get to see it. Aaron Wilson, KPRC2's Texan Insider. I'm Ari Alexander.